Grand whatever as always, please beings. We got 30 minutes on the clockina, the the clock that Joaquina gave me, clockina, that's what I'm calling them. I really like I think Joaquina is like really behind on the podcast, so it's gonna take a while for them to hear that joke, but that was great. And I actually thought of that quite recently. Oh, here I am with my failure of knowing if I turned on the phone or not. Y'all are seeing this in real time, ladies and gents, and everyone and they mamas. Got a Topo Chico. We no longer tell you the drink of the day. I'm no longer experimenting in that way. We're experimenting in so many different ways, and that gives me more mental energy and time. We love to see it. So, I'm sure y'all want to get into it. So, let's get into it. Okay, party people, please beans, and they mamas. Welcome to Poetry on the Patio with Pleiades, episode 20. We're naming this episode Enlightened. And the reason we're doing that is because we're going to be talking about a lot of enlightening things. I'm writing something down because I remembered I wanted to talk about something. So, first of all, let's talk about the fact that we got biker Pleiades on the podcast today because there's no time. I'm just kidding, but it's like late in the afternoon on Monday when typically I record almost immediately after my uploading process. But this time the podcast is being recorded after I took a bike ride at like 4:30 because it's October, so it's like 88 degrees in at 4 a.m. Sorry, 4 p.m. I mean, maybe 4 a.m. too. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so I put some sunscreen on. I went on the bike ride, and then I came back, and I was like, "This is the time. This is when I should record my podcast." And someone was so sweet. They complimented my bike. Maybe I'll put my bike here. Maybe. Who knows? It's hard to edit. I'm an editor and a video taker and the podcast host and the person that is my assistant who gets all the interviews. So and the biker. Did I already say that? I think so. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, folks, you know. There's a lot of work that needs to be done in these worlds. Anyway, so today is October 13th, and this episode is going to be posted on October 20th, 2020. And sorry, what? 2020? Well, yeah, that's the portal, right? October 20th, 2025, episode 20. So, episode 20 on October 20th, a portal. I created a portal. So, that's something that I want to talk about today, creating portals, because you have to create meaning in the world. And damn if I will not create meaning out of every single number that I see, license plate, clock, or whatever, you know. Because when I was a child, I was gifted somewhat, I guess, and my family was not prepared to take on a gifted and challenged child. You know, your blessings are your curses, and your curses are your blessings. And because of that, when I entered the world, my ancestors were reaching out to me in any way they possibly could, which showed up as the number something. I don't know if I want to share that on the podcast because then that information is forever public information. But I think like I've shared it enough times where if people wanted to put the pieces together, they could. And that's what I did too. You know, I put the pieces together and figured out that my ancestors were reaching out to me to save me and take care of me. And yeah, I'm super grateful because if it wasn't for that number, that portal that opened, then I wouldn't be where I am today in like art or any sense, you know, like I would probably be so depressed. And, you know, you have to make meaning out of things, right? So, yeah, we opened a portal. Who knows what that means for the podcast? Who knows what that means for the world? I still remember the first time I recorded on the podcast on the patio. Like when I was in my room, you know, like that's a quiet, more quiet scenario, and like I'm not having to worry about the neighbors or this or that. And you know, I think the neighbors at this point know I have a podcast, right? Also, I do want to share. I dropped my phone before I put the phone up. I don't need to tell you all that, but I want to tell you all that because now I have a little scratch on my phone, but I don't mind because you know, every single time that my phone drops or like there's like a mistake or whatever on the podcast on my experiences, I just feel like that's another learning lesson, you know, and like that's just something to push through and be better on and about. And also my podcast, or sorry, my tripod, I keep saying, anyway, my tripod is broken, and it's like it's able to be in use, but like the screw that holds it in like fell off, so like I can put the screw back in the base, but you know, like the screw isn't in the base anymore where it screws up. The screw is like stuck in the tripod and the base is like separate, so you can put the screw, so like, you know, if there's wind, this is a challenging moment for me and I'm very nervous. That's another part of the learning experience, right? But we got to keep doing this because I love doing this and I love having a podcast and I love contributing to culture. So yeah, if anyone wants to be kind enough to get me a tripod, they're not that expensive, but I can't get a job and I don't have like a bank account. If you want to send me the money on Cash App, that would be cool too. Yeah, but we got biker Pleiades. We opened portals. You know, I thought I was falling apart, but the portal is telling me that we're falling together. Yeah. Yeah. um, okay, so October 19th is 2 years sober from nicotine vapes. And that reminds me, I posted this on the 13th. Tomorrow, the 14th, also a day where I have band rehearsal. The 14th is 1 year sober from self harm, which I'm so proud of because I have been very I've had a difficult relationship with self harm my entire life because of where my generation was like 10 years ago in 2013, especially like 12 years ago, right? Like, oh, our community was suffering and we're still suffering in a multitude of ways, in a magnitude of ways, actually. But for now, I'm just going to be grateful for the changes that are coming, and that shows that the world can change, right? We can have revolutions internally. We can completely burn down a forest and rebuild a city from what has been darkness. You know, we can give people a place to live and shelter and food and housing and clothes more and more activities, life. So yeah, 2 years sober from nicotine vapes, like that's incredible to me. Like I barely even think about smoking vapes anymore. Like I see how available they are these days, you know, since it's been 2 years away from vapes. Like I think the relationship the world has with vapes has only increased. And that is something that's like actually terrifying for me because, you know, I was at a position where I was very vulnerable and I was suffering so much with addiction. And I see so many of my friends suffering from the same addictions and barely few of them get out. And I felt like, you know, for a while I had to like selfishly like hoard my sobriety, and that was just a form of abstinence, and it was necessary to have that form of abstinence so I could sober up, because like I've been taking like 250 milligrams of edibles daily. Like this is less than what I've been taking, so trust me, I'm fine, because I was smoking at some point. So like that actually gets me to another point that I was going to talk about, which was my sobriety check-in, because I quit smoking, you know, like it's been a couple of days since I've smoked, like I think 5 days now, because again, it's the 13th, and the last time I smoked was the 8th. So yeah, it's been 5 days, and no, I haven't been offered, but I know if I've been offered, I'm going to say no. Well, actually, I have been offered. I was offered a cart, though, like a disposable vape, and back in the day, yeah, last year, I was still smoking carts, you know, disposable carts. And I hate it because like they tell you to get like nicotine vapes to quit smoking cigarettes, but ultimately it's the same thing as disposable marijuana vapes. It's just the convenience factor, and like you can buy them less, you can hit them anywhere, and yeah, you can take them on a plane or whatever. I don't know. It doesn't feel good to live in this world right now, and I don't want to go towards abstinence. I'm asking for sobriety, you know, like I never want to say like, oh, look away from the thing that's harming you, because I know like will alone won't help you, you know? And some people don't realize that, because sobering up isn't abstinence. It's not staying away from drugs. No, sobering up is choosing better. Choosing better. It's to choose your choices better, you know? And I think we forget about that a lot. And I have to emphasize that, because if I don't, then I will also forget the lesson that I have recently just learned, you know? Because even the last 2 years, I have been practicing a form of sobriety. It was more so abstinence. And I went to AA, you know, I went to MA, I went to NA, I went to, like, I used subreddits. I talked to people online. I went through multitudes of communities. I talked to so many people about it, you know, just to figure out what I was doing. And I'm pretty sure that's why I so rapidly progressed to reaching this point, because again, like I said, I'm on edibles, and I took like 1,000 milligrams the other day. I know, insane, but I was fine. My friends were like afraid for me. It was my friend Grace's birthday, and like they were like, are you okay? Like, and then Andres, their partner, was like, if I was on 1,000 milligrams, I'd be seeing God and I'd be feeling God. And I was like, and I am. And even though I am, that doesn't mean I'm not okay. Like, I am God, y'all are God, everyone's God, everything is God. God is in the air. I see it, like, visually. Like, it's close to a DMT trip, or like shrooms for me. But like, even then, I'm able to control my state, because it's more about the mental state that I'm reaching, and I'm not trying to get fried. But that's why I'm trying to sober up, right? It's all a work in progress. So like, from 1,000 milligrams to 250, yeah, I think I'm fine. um Anyway, let's keep going. Let's keep going, because we got like 15 minutes left, and I have not even done like half of these. So, dating revisited. Oh my God, I've been in a band for a month, and now I'm dating again. Like, why is that okay? Because I told myself I wasn't gonna date, because I just entered a band, and I'm grateful that we've had like so many rehearsals, and we're continuing rehearsals. Like, it literally feels so good to be a part of this process and create songs and work on this album with this band, right? But then, like, I told myself I couldn't date, but then some things just happen, you know? Typically, I'm just talking to people, and then people ask me out on a date. Typically, I say no. But there's sometimes where I'm like, okay, I don't want to be asked out on a date. And then I'm like, so when are you leaving the town? Anyway, I don't know what to do with myself. Uh, except continue the podcast, dating revisited, right? That's what we're saying. And that's why, like, we continue the conversation, because like, yeah, I had plenty of dates this year, like dates or whatever, hookups and whatnot. But I had like 3 legitimate dates this year, I guess. I think, I don't know, like 3 sit-down dates, you know, over coffee, over whatever. And those have changed my life. Like, I didn't expect to have 3 dates in a year, you know, like typically I'm like in a relationship and dating. Um, but no, these are different people. Like, I'm exploring myself, and like even the hookups helped me explore myself better too, you know. It made me like realize, like, oh, I'm in this position because I've got some connection with this individual, and they're also in this position because they've got some connection with me. So if I'm 25 years old, like connecting with these individuals that are like 33 or whatever, Joaquina would say dark. And that's like what comes to my mind, because, well, again, I'm just trying to learn about myself, and it's like my friends pointing out certain things in my behavior. Like, I do want to understand, and I want to unpack it, and I've been sitting with them pretty carefully, you know, and listening to my friends very carefully. Anyway, dating revisited. That's that. That is that. Disney adults. Oh my God, this is an entire conversation, y'all. Because I was doing some more research for the podcast for my interviews, because I have like conversations started with many people for the interview, and if things don't work out, then like I can last minute put something together. But I don't know. I'm just like really kind of nervous, because like you know, sometimes you're learning how to juggle and you have 4 balls that you've been juggling, and you can handle that, you know, and then you start juggling 5 balls, and then your body catches 4 balls. And you know, this hasn't happened to me yet, but I went from 3 to 4, so now I'm making the metaphor 4 to 3. Oh wait, 4 to 5. Math, counting. Um, when you incorporate a fifth ball into your 4-ball practice, you can sometimes catch 4 balls and then drop the fifth, and then you're like, why was my brain not capable of maintaining the fifth ball? And then eventually you can. And then you wonder, how did my brain maintain the fifth ball? Like, how did I practice that muscle? Anyway, that's how I feel about the interviews right now. But let's talk about the thing that I wanted to talk about: Disney adults. Kiki Palmer is a Disney adult. Oh my god, like, you would never have me guessing that. And then, like, I watched her first podcast interview, which was with John Stamos, and very interesting. He's also a Disney adult. I was like quite turned off by that, actually. Like, what are y'all doing? And that gets me into the next point, where it's like capitalism and where we're at, which is something that I wanted to talk about, because it's like, I don't know how many years ago that was. That might have been 2 years ago, but still, like I'm preaching to the choir, you know, because unfortunately or fortunately, my audience are people that are in poverty, that are marginalized, that are queer, that are artists, writers, musicians. You know, these are my people: brown, black people, you know, indigenous people, um, Asians. Where y'all at? You know, women, non-binary people, trans people. Yes, men too, but marginalized men, you know, and yeah, disabled folks, um, neurodivergent folks, you know. And I think, like, when it comes to talking about capitalism right now, like, we're all fiending for some community, which is why I'm doing the podcast, right? Like, because 20 weeks ago I was fiending for some community during Pride Month, and, like, you know, I had been feeling like not queer because people, like, just want to separate each other, like be sectarian for some reason. um but anyway, I'm not trying to section everyone off. Is sectarian sectioning people off? Sorry, I've got a stutter. I'm autistic. I've had a stutter my entire life. It's also a part of my dyspraxia. We'll get into autism another day. Again, I told you guys, maybe we'll do like a series of like 3 podcasts in a row where I talk about like 3, or you know, like, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'll work on it. I'm working on it. I got help. I have friends. I have autistic friends, which we'll talk about again. Um, you'll see. You'll see. Watch. Just watch, and everything will make sense. Um, so yeah, I think where we're at society wise, like, community is really fiending for each other. So I think, like, I'm preaching to the choir, and like, I understand, like, let people do what they want, and I understand, like, what Kiki Palmer has said, like, Disney has been built to last or whatever. But, like, I don't know, it just sounds like slave labor, you know, unfortunately. And, like, Disney, like, himself, Walt, was not a great human being. And I just think that romanticizing and idolizing the greatest parts of this person is not realistic. And, like, yeah, you know, maybe I would have a better time with Disney adults if they were realistic and they incorporated the entire conversation, you know. Because I'm also saying, like, yeah, live and let live. Like, be happy, love people, love the world, do something that you love. I say that every single time that I'm on this podcast. And if you don't think I'm saying that, then you're not really watching. But that's what I'm saying, right? Like, love the world better. And I'm just saying, like, maybe we should incorporate the conversation of understanding what perpetuates harm and how we can perpetuate the harm. um yeah, because Disney adults, I'm sorry, I really don't know how y'all are contributing to the community. And I think Kiki Palmer even, like, said that Disney adults are like Swifties, or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone else said that in a derogatory form of Disney adults in a different conversation with me while I brought this up. But all I know is, like, Kiki Palmer, if you're seeing this, John Stamos, if you're seeing this, no hate to y'all. Do what y'all want. Actually, more power to y'all. Live your life. I love you. Y'all are amazing actors. I've really enjoyed the things that you have been in. I've watched them, you know? But also be better, maybe. I don't know. John Stamos was kind of being really weird, and I'm like, is this his personality? This is like the first time I've seen an interview of him, and it's like, yeah, I know you're real, but, like, what? Anyway, men. um, so now I want to talk about being disabled from carbon monoxide poisoning. So yeah, I had just done something. I can't be normal to save my life. Anyway, I had a conversation with someone and mentioned my carbon monoxide poisoning in a deeper way than I have, and like I wanted to mention how it's disabled me, and like it just made my autism more autistic, and I can't be mad at that because I mean it also sobered me up in some ways. Like I could not have continued drinking alcohol or doing cigarettes, smoking cigarettes, doing drugs, smoking weed, because it was affecting my nervous system and it was affecting my brain and it was affecting my muscles and everything because my carbon monoxide, like it felt like I was holding carbon monoxide poison in my brain and in my lungs. And for some time, like my stutter was horrendous. Like my brain, I couldn't think. It hurt to breathe. It hurt to exercise. It hurt to do everything. And I just didn't feel normal. My asthma from childhood felt like it came back. I felt like I was dying, and that's how it disabled me, right? And so like these days I'm doing a lot better, and I do believe like honestly Joaquina is a huge part in how I'm doing better, because just like their patience and their friendship, their compassion, their love, their everything is just so empowering and inspiring and motivating. And if I didn't do something with that beauty of a friendship, if I didn't grow and take care of myself, then I wouldn't know like why I was there for them. And I love that I can have a friend like that in my life. And I've got a podcast. I don't know why I said that, but anyway, I've got a podcast. um, we got like 5 minutes left. Let's hurry this up. Meditation, a form of enlightenment. A lot of these conversations are conversations that I had with my band and someone else recently. But yeah, I had a form of enlightenment when I was meditating when I was younger, and my friends around me didn't believe me. But I'm surrounded by such wonderful people nowadays. I think like a lot of people didn't believe me also because they knew my dead name, which is just so horrible, because it's like, why are you using past experiences to color my present, even if you know me? Like, why am I not allowed to be a changing person? And also, why are you so judgmental of experience? No. Okay, well that's fine. Sorry, I had an earring and I had a feeling that like for some reason it would fall out, and then I felt it, and then it did fall out. God, it's just a music note. I can get another music note earring easy. It might have fallen out while I was biking, or who knows, maybe I'll find it while I'm cleaning the house or something. But it's like a staple of mine. But recently I learned that no matter if there's like a music note on my body or anywhere on me, no matter what, my life is colored by music, and I am a musician. I am a lifelong musician. Anyway, when I was 21 and I reached this form of enlightenment, like the second I brought it to other people, my ego came back. And like I had some sort of an ego death recently, which is why I feel more capable of being myself and just like running around the world like a little kid. I don't know, something has shifted. And it happened maybe while I was on like a lot of edibles, actually, to be honest. But yeah, this will maintain, and I do think like from edibles, like I will sober up. Like who knows, maybe the next time we do a check-in, I will be a couple days sober from edibles. But I don't know, I don't think it'll happen next week. I think it might take a couple of weeks, but I know it will happen soon, which is very exciting. And yeah, I just think that like I knew bringing it to these people would like end the enlightenment, but I knew that like it was not the only time that I would reach enlightenment in my life. And like enlightenment means a lot of things. Like it literally meant enlightening my body and like living without my bodily needs, but not even like the wants, or like there was like needs that I needed to take care of now instead of like wants. And like the way to access those needs were different, because it's like this society and like enlightenment, true enlightenment, and like a Buddhist monk kind of experience would be a lot simpler, because there's less to deal with. But we have technology, we have capitalism, we have maybe genocide, probably genocide, definitely genocide. Sorry, I don't think it's funny. I'm just like, this is the world that we live in, and like I cannot change it alone, and we have to like have these conversations, and it's just like impossible to imagine, like, you know, because again, I have had this form of enlightenment so I can do something with my energy in this capitalistic society. But like, even talking about it on this podcast is like a wall for me that I have to build for my own boundaries these days, because I know like not everyone who watches the podcast will believe me. But you know, I'm talking to people one on one more so, where they hear me and they meet me where I'm at, and they're like, damn, like if this person is able to do all of these things with all of the things that they're going through mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, actually, then what am I doing, you know? And that's the reason why we share experiences, right? Like, that's the reason why we share stories. So anyway, mental health, taking advantage of my privileges. Ugh, we got like less than 5 minutes. I guess this will be a long podcast episode, but so my mental health has been really bad. You know, if you guys know me, I've been living at home for 25 years minus one semester at college before they sent us home from COVID, you know. And I was grateful to be living with roommates that were still horrible people, you know, and they might be changed now, but how they treated me, you know, who they brought around put me in danger. And I felt like very small, and I just did whatever I could to protect myself. And again, because it wasn't my family, like I felt better because I was taking care of myself. And like the way that my parents have been babying me is literally making me so disabled. You know, it's continuing the disabilities in me, and I'm smart enough to, like, you know, through my autism, be able to recognize this, be aware of it, and do something about it. And I hate that I can't really do something about it, like get a job and make money. I can do different things with art, but it's going to take some time, and I think I'm capable of it. But again, it's just going to take some time, which is really difficult. Also, have y'all seen this shirt? Is this not a cool shirt? I love this shirt. I had to have it. I'm so grateful that my mom got it for me. But anyway, yeah, what was I just talking about? Oh yeah, when I was talking to my mom last night about my mental health, I was in a very frustrated and frantic position, and I didn't feel very good, and I felt like a horrible child to her, because, you know, I am her child. She birthed me. I am her adult child. Anyway, bless you. Thank you. You're welcome. Um, when my mom talked to me when I was like frantic, I was like, is it, she's literally like paying for the house right now. Like, my dad doesn't have a job, and, you know, he's been in and out of jobs for a long time, and I've been suffering, you know. um but I asked my mom if she could pay for my rent if I moved out, and it does not feel good to say this, you know, because that's like a lot of privilege. But I decided that I wanted to be honest on my podcast, because this is such a huge decision, and not like not everyone watches the podcast fully through, you know. Like, we're at the last 30 minutes, we're at the end of the 30 minutes, and I think the people who do watch the podcast and then who do read Otai's um entry, you know, they're typically people that I do want to explain these to. So no matter what time they get into that conversation, like, it'll be the time that the conversation needs to happen, because I'm moving back to Houston. Y'all know this, very soon. But after moving to Houston, I'm going to take the steps to look for apartments in Austin, because my band's in Austin, you know, like, I have got a whole community here, and I really do think I need this. For my mental health, for my autism, for me to grow, for me to be my own independent human being, or else I'm going to be disabled for the rest of my life, and I'm not going to be able to be okay without my parents. And I need to be okay without them. Like, I can't just be a bum, you know, and like not help out. And I've been feeling like I haven't been helping out much. My podcast is a privilege to be a part of. And I know that, which is why we're on the 20th episode, you know, and I'm going to continue doing this. So while we finish this podcast, and this is about to go off, that actually brings me to a good point. that I wanted to talk about. The thing that I just wrote in the beginning of the podcast, which is changes in the podcast. So I commit to a year of podcasts. That's 52 weeks. On top of 52 weeks of a podcast, that will get us towards 10 interviews. I also already committed to a year of interviews, so 12 interviews. And again, even if I can't perfectly do one, I'll figure it out. I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen, okay? Um yeah, I can figure it out. I can call someone up and I'm sure someone can help me out. Plenty of people, you know. Um So yeah, the changes in the podcast, even though I've committed to that year and those 12 interviews once a month, and that takes us towards like maybe 60 podcasts if I was continuing on for the like weekly basis on Mondays, you know. But what I'm going to suggest, and you know, you guys can leave comments below if you guys agree with this, if you guys think it's a good idea, or if it's a bad idea, then also let me know that. But I'm thinking that we could do a longer form, an hour podcast uh, next year, you know, after the 52 weeks of consistency and proving to myself mostly that I'm capable of handling this, and also then proving to the community that I'm capable of handling this, right? I think moving to an hour podcast could be a cool idea. And then we could talk about more topics, but then we could do bi weekly. So the interviews could remain 30 minutes. And then at the end of 12 interviews, we can readjust and see if we want to continue the 30-minute podcast interviews or jump to an hour interview, which I think would be fun because I do really enjoy like talking to people for like an hour. But then we would do the bi weeklies, you know. So then I think next year, again, the changes in the podcast after 52 weeks plus the 2 interviews, and maybe I won't do an hour interview for maybe 1 month just to get a break, but then, you know, continue with the interviews. And then on the second month of only interviews, that month pick up the pace of every 2 weeks. And then since it'll be hour long format after the last interview, I think the last interview can be like again 30 minutes, and then my next podcast will be starting the pace of the hour. And then instead of having it once a month interview, I think we'll do an interview then me only on the podcast, then an interview then me, and so on and so forth, you know, but all of them being an hour. Again, let me know what you'll think in the comments. And now let's talk about next week. Next week we're going to talk about biking withdrawals and what that means for me. We're going to talk about ghosts. We're going to talk about self dates, OCD in the mental community, autism in friendships, anxiety, sobriety, again, a sobriety check in. And with that, please be party people and they mamas, I will leave it off. And I will say thank you guys so much for being here with me tonight, today, wherever, however you're watching this, listening to this. I will say thank you for supporting me. And I hope that you guys continue to support yourselves, uplift yourselves in whatever way that you want. If you want a podcast, start a podcast. If you want a pet spider, get a pet spider and take care of it. If you want to drink some water, don't just want to, need to. You need water to survive, live, okay? Take care of yourself and take care of the people around you. Eat something tasty and delicious, but also eat something healthy, you know? Ultimately balance. And take yourself out on a date. I love you guys. Until next time, bye.